Hello and welcome to the last of the United Views transfer roundups for this January. I'm Tom Doyle and I'm joined by Hayley today to talk to us about what's been, quite frankly, a disappointing window for United. How are you, Hayley?
I'm good, thank you, Tom. Very good. It's always a little bit disappointing to come on every week and not have something very exciting to say, but hopefully, you never know. There's still days left. Something could happen.
Yeah, there's still time left. As United fans, we know that there's always time for a risky last-minute transfer.
Well, this is the thing. I keep saying on Twitter. I posted yesterday about the Euro because the Euro's dropping so rapidly. It seems like a silly reason, but ultimately, if you think about it, if you compare in the first week of the window, kind of price of players. Say, I used the example, a 25 million euro player, which is potentially the going rate for a good solid centre back nowadays. Wouldn't get you someone world class, but someone decent by all means. And you would be saving between a couple of weeks ago to now £1 million just with conversion. So
it's a huge amount of money, isn't it? It's a huge amount of money to save for clubs in just a week.
Just for going, hang on, just for 2 weeks. It doesn't massively. Well, I know the club thinks it doesn't disadvantage them because Ed Woodward has always loved to work in some ridiculous last-minute dash.
Yeah.
As much as it's crazy to think now. The way it went last summer, people were kind of having emotional breakdowns on Twitter last summer, with a week to go, and the press were coming out and saying they need to buy 4 or 5 more players. And what happened was we went on a kind of a mad spree in the last week or so, and then the press kind of came out and said, "You're losing your identity. This is terrible." So can't please them really, ultimately.
Yeah, it was a bit desperate, wasn't it? I mean, as United fans, we've obviously got used to getting the late deals done under both Moyes and Van Gaal, but it's obviously looking increasingly unlikely that we're going to sign anyone barring Victor Valdez, who's effectively our new backup goalkeeper. That's unless David Gea decides to leave this summer. Obviously, fingers crossed, it's not going to happen. But ESPN FC reported today that United officials that unless our top targets are available this month, then the club is effectively prepared to wait until this summer to sign Van Gaal's top priority players. In essence, they want to avoid a similar situation that saw Moyes panic buy Fellaini, pay £3.5 million over the odds. So, how do you feel about our transfer window in general, Hayley? Are you disappointed, or do you think it's wiser to wait until the summer to try and bring in top players?
Look, it's always disappointing as a fan, especially one like myself who loves a good sort of Muppet excitement over the big names. But ultimately, whatever way you look at it, yes, it's disappointing. It's very disappointing at the minute, thinking Arsenal are going to get somebody in their centre back position, which they need to strengthen. Chelsea and Cuadrado, I still think that has legs and could go somewhere before the week's out. Obviously, City and Bonnie have been kind of the big deal of the window. So you want to get somebody in, you want to strengthen, and it kind of takes the load off the summer. But that said, you've got to be smart about it and think. I read something I think it was maybe today actually, when it was a list of players that we've got rid of, not including the Valencias and the Evans and the likes of those players that are on thin ice essentially, players that are very likely to go because they're out on loan or they have gone. You've got Makeda, I can't even think of half of them. Hernandez.
So many.
There's so many that went, and obviously Vidic, Evra, Giggs, all the people that retired or contracts ran out, and there's like 16, 17 of them, and I just think we acquired so many, without being disrespectful, mediocre players. Obviously, the likes of Vidic and Evra, that was a different thing, age, etc. But we acquired so many players that haven't made the cut. I mean, Zaha, he's looked really bright for Crystal Palace, but is he going to come back here and make it as a first-team player?
There's, as you say, with that, there's talk today. I mean, there's talk this evening that Alan Partey wants to make that a permanent deal, so he could well, return to Palace, but it's not going to be anything close to the 15 million that we paid for him in the first place.
Exactly. I mean, it's fantastic as Alex Ferguson was, and he was. The man's a god to me, but anyone can make a bad transfer, and we did seem to make quite a few over the last his last 5 years. So not to kind of place blame on him, but ultimately we don't want to end up in a situation where we're buying crap again. Essentially, we're buying players like the likes of Rumslar, who ultimately I don't believe are good enough for a starting position. We've got enough squad players. We've got tons of squad players.
We've got enough squad defenders, haven't we? I mean, you look at the likes of Evans, Jones, Smalling. I mean, they've all been given the chance to step up. Ferdinand and Vidic, and you can't really say that any of them have taken the chance. It's difficult because they've been unlucky and unfortunate with injuries, but all of them are that age now. I mean, Jones is 23 or 24. I mean, Evans is 26. They're at the age where they should be starting, regularly, and they just haven't taken that chance, have they?
That's the thing. I mean, I suppose you're getting onto that debate again about who would you keep out of the trio of injured kind of. Yeah. Are they good enough? Are they not good enough? Centre backs out of Jones, Smalling, and Evans, which is kind of for another day. But ultimately, Evans is looking at the minute. He's the oldest, so he's he's got to be the most suspect in terms of he's getting worse, not better. He, in my opinion, probably should and might well go in the summer. And then you're looking at Smalling and Jones. They're good squad players, in my opinion, but they can't really be relied on. Not only because Jones has and Smalling has a bit of an ability of having a bit of a brain fart, which I always hate that word, but essentially that's the idea. But it's their injury record. They're not going to be sort of seen as top class defenders that are going to take us to the next level and allow our attacking players and midfielders to feel confident. But unfortunately, I don't think those players. So we've got squad players. And then we've got midfield. I think Fellaini's doing fantastic this season in his role. But again, if you're wanting to compete in the Champions League and whatnot, we've got plenty of squad players. But Januzaj is another one who's having a bit of a difficult season. But we need a winger. We need someone pacey who is going to take a man on. And I think it's a bit too soon for Januzaj to put all that on him. So we've got plenty of good squad players. In fact, if we got the sort of 5 first team players in and trimmed off a little bit of fat, then we would have a fantastic squad. But Valencia is another one. What do you think about him? He's nearly 30. Could not believe that when I heard.
Yes, I mean he was given a new 3-year deal, I believe, by Van Gaal when he came in. So Van Gaal obviously rates him as. I'm not entirely sure where he rates him, to be honest, because he's playing right wing back at the moment. But he obviously thinks he's good enough to do a job down that right flank. But as you say, we need someone with a lot of pace. I mean, Valencia, for all his worth, he's a solid player, but he's only got 2 assists this season. And if Van Gaal's going to play that 3-5-2, then he needs people bombing up and down the flanks who can defend, but also create goals and score. And we're just not getting that from either Luke Shaw or Valencia at the moment, are we?
Well, that's it exactly, and I think what we need to be doing between now and the summer is looking to buy players that are going to fit into the formation we want to play. And I don't think that's 3-5-2 because Van Gaal has kind of hinted at that. Thankfully, it doesn't seem like he's happy with this kind of unattractive looking defensive football. But I think he feels like he doesn't have a choice because of how much the defence scares him. So he's playing this kind of awful formation and this awful way, so that I don't know. I almost feel like he's happy to scrape top 4 so that he can go, right, I'm going to have a full summer to myself. I've seen the players all year. I know exactly who I want. I know exactly where I'm going. And then he knows that it's not going to be pretty, but kind of. Well, I suppose I would take the top 4 this season, even if it wasn't pretty, and then expect much better. In obviously next year after we've had a summer of improvements, but it's just making sure at the minute when we're not playing well, it makes you nervous about top 4. So we don't want to.
It really does. As you say, I mean, it would be different, say, if the performances were there, but the performances just aren't there at all at the moment. I mean, we're scraping victories, and we went on a good run of form, but I don't think anyone would argue that David De Gea has been a massive part of us winning a lot of those games, getting points when we necessarily shouldn't have done. And the problem is, we need a rebuild, but as you say, I think it might have to wait until the summer. But I mean, it's tough, isn't it? Because I mean, we've been linked with so many players. There was a list going around on Twitter yesterday that it was Van Gaal's targets from last summer, and including the likes of Di Maria. It's about 20 names long, and there's on the list. I mean, every player is a realistic possibility next summer. I mean, we need defenders, we need midfielders. You know, we're probably going to need forwards as well, considering Van Persie said he's unsure about his future. Falcao might leave. Rooney's in midfield doing something else. That just leaves James Wilson. So, I mean, you know, given that there are effectively a dozen realistic deals that we could do in the summer, who do you think we should be targeting?
Well, without, as we talked about previously, without sounding like a kid going crazy in a sweet shop and wanting everybody, I think, you know, a lot of our fans would agree that there's a strong case to be made for up to 5 players again. You know, we need a centre back, we need a world class centre back, one at least. You know, could we do with just a world class centre back? Then we have Jones and Smalling and Rojo. Is that enough? Well, if the other 2 can stay fit. But we need one as a minimum. We need a right back. Klein would be my shout. I'd love to get Klein. He's young. He's looked good this season. He's available. You know, there's a little bit of news in the press recently that he was going to hang off till April to sign his contract. Doesn't really sound like somebody who's desperate to commit to the club. If United come sniffing, the chances are, you know, he's going to want to take that opportunity, providing it doesn't look like we're, you know, not down in eighth place, you know, out of the Champions League, but
or trailing Southampton behind in the Champions League places as we currently are, you know. So.
Yeah, exactly. That would never be good. But yeah, you know, those are two positions that we got quality in, and those 2 positions would be massive for us. Shaw will, I believe, come good in the left back position, but I think his role, his performances, and everything's been affected, yes, by injury, but also by this whole 3-5-2. What we do, are we doing wing backs? Are we doing left back? You know, that'll be settled when we have a proper, you know, sort of right back and centre back in. And it's nothing against Raphael, but you can't have consistency when someone's injured all the time, and that's all it is. So, you know, if he's fit, great. But we do need a right back of good quality for the times that he seems to be out a lot. We've obviously got midfield. We talked about Strootman, and Pogba's the kind of the dream, which is possibly a bit of a Muppet dream, you'd call it. You know,
it's tough, as you say, with Strootman there, because I mean he's just I mean he got injured in his last game for Roma, and the team doctor said it's not necessarily he said it's not necessarily a serious problem, but they described his knee as delicate. And I mean, if there's one word that you don't want to have a multi-million-pound midfielder, you know, his knee described as it's delicate, because that's just, I mean, that's Owen Hargreaves all over again, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, ultimately, we'd, you know, he could be a great buy, but there's an element of risk there. Or if you weigh up something like that with the likes of Pogba, who you can say he's unrealistic, but I don't think that's the case, because an unrealistic player would be someone like a Matic or somebody who is in a settled position at a club that's going nowhere, maybe Schweinsteiger or somebody like that, who think, look, it's not going to happen, get over it. But Pogba's agent's coming out and saying, yeah, he's going to be off next summer more than likely. So it's really a matter of who, not where. So we've got the money. You know, we hope to God that we'll have the Champions League football. So it's just a case of who's willing to pay the most money, and you know, where does he want to go. So that could be very interesting. Obviously, we'd love to get him. And there's a strange sort of feeling amongst some fans. Well, you know, we'll look stupid if we pay 60 million for a player that we give away for free. But you know, it looks more stupid to just let him go to a rival, become absolutely bloody fantastic, even more so than he already is, and to sit by and not do anything on the basis that we let him go for free. I mean, it's not my money, so I don't care. I think just
I mean, it's surely, like you say, it's better to you know, bite the bullet and accept that we made a mistake with him. But it's better to admit the mistake, pay the money, and have him back for 10 years than it to remain a mistake and see him thrive, you know, for another side and win Champions Leagues and potentially even lead France to a World Cup in the future.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's kind of painful. Every time he plays it, and he's on fantastic form, and he's you yeah, big candidate for Real Madrid. We'll have to see how that pans out. If we can compete, get in the top four, I think we've got to be up there. But it's it's not a one that we're going to be particularly confident on because there is so much competition. But he's who I'd love to see in the midfield role, to have him back. And people will very, very quickly forget about, oh well, you gave him away for nothing.
Yeah.
The shirt seals and everything else.
Yes, it's the same with Di Maria. He's struggled a bit lately, but when he first came, people were saying, was he going to justify the £59 million fee? And then as soon as he got on the pitch, fans don't care about the price when a player is on the pitch.
Exactly.
Creating joy. That's. I was going to say that's something you can't buy. That's obviously something you can very much buy, but it's difficult to quantify that feeling when, say, Di Maria's on the ball. If you've got the money, then you might as well spend it on players like him and turn the club, around and into title contenders again.
Yeah, exactly. Di Maria's been really stifled recently by some injuries, so much a shot, and also the whole putting him in the striker role. That's for the Sunday night rant, but ultimately he's had a few out of positions. But if you think about him in the ideal role, which I hope that we get him into soon when we start getting the formation sorted and we get some of the players we need in, we'll hopefully build our team around him and think about the performances he put in when he first came. He can do it in the Premier League. He tore Leicester apart. He tore QPR apart. He's phenomenal, and we just need to kind of build the team around him. So players like that, of course, they're worth the money in the long run, because especially when they're young. God, look at the age of Pogba. And then of course, you've got one person we didn't mention actually is Laporte.
Yes, definitely.
He's obviously at Balboa now. He's got a release clause, which I believe calculates to 31 million.
Yeah, that's about right, I think.
He's 20 years old, French, and he's the only one that's kind of rumoured that could realistically of high quality come to us in January. So we'll see what happens about that. I think that's the only one that's kind of being whispered by somebody reliable.
It's one of these tough ones with him as well, because over the last couple of days he's been linked with a move to potentially Real Madrid as well. So it'd be interesting to see how that pans out if they decide they want another young friend. What that means for, say, Rafael Varane, if Real Madrid are just going to start hoarding, young French defenders, or if Pepe or Varane is going to be available in the summer. It's tough, but it opens up a lot of possibilities regarding the potential deal for De Gea as well, or Bale even. There's just so many opportunities. This is what the transfer window is about.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't even got to the attack. We need a winger. You can mention Bale. Will he come in? That'll depend on if De Gea goes out, which I really don't want to happen. But at the same time, De Gea is going to leave. In 6 months, in January or next summer anyway. I'd rather get somebody like Bale or Varane in the deal than let him, stay for one season and then let him go anyway. I don't want him to go, nobody does, but we've got to be smart about the whole thing. We can't force him to sign. I'm hoping that we won't need to have this conversation and it'll just, the deal will happen. We'll see about that. But yeah, they've got some great players that we might have an interest that might potentially have an interest in getting. And you never know with Real Madrid. They're a funny club. They let some fantastic players go. They have done in the past, and I'm sure it's not the last time. So Bale's an option, although I'm not inclined to pay silly money for him. Then you've got young wingers like Depay, who looks fantastic. I'm a big fan. We need a PC winger. Moving forward, that's another big one on my list. And then you've got to ask about a striker, as you said as well. I know it's a big shopping list, but I don't know if RVP is where he's going to be long term, if he's going to have a place in the team. He's had a rough season, and we really are kind of crying out for that quality, PC striker. I know we keep talking about pace, but we've looked so slow this season. To get something like that.
It's interesting that you say that, actually, because I think that's actually been one of the problems with Di Maria, because he's been forced into playing up front because Van Gaal obviously doesn't feel he's got enough pace up front. But that obviously negates Di Maria's creative ability and his pace, breaking from midfield and creating chances. I think we can all agree that that's when we've looked most dangerous, when Di Maria's creating from the centre or down the lines. And I mean, I feel that Di Maria is going to almost be like a new signing in the summer because when we bring him back into midfield, when Van Gaal's got more options, then he's going to be creating again. But we just don't have that ability at the moment to worry teams with pace because Di Maria's got his back to goal. He's one of the quickest players in the league, but he's playing like a old English centre forward, and he obviously can't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people think because of his qualities and his pace that maybe Van Gaal thought we could just stick him up top, but he actually needs to play deep and then run at players, run at the defence and create. He's not really a goal scorer, although it's one of the now and again it's one of the things he'll pull out of the bag, but it's not what he's known for. He's known for his creation, his creating chances and assists and run at players, which is why he works so well in the kind of almost central midfield role, and then push him forward. Obviously that links up the kind of midfield and the attack so well. So with that in mind, would we look at the French kid who's is it, I can never pronounce his name. Is it Lacazette or I can't?
Lacazette, yeah, the forward, Leon. I think he's got.
Right.
I think he's got 21 in 22 games. He's on fire. He's just got injured, but he's very sought after by quite a few in the Premier League recently. Yeah. That's a very good call.
He's what? Sorry.
That's a very good call because no one's really been linking us with forwards, but we're going to need someone.
Well, the thing is, I'm a big Falcao fan, and I want him to stay. But at the same time, I know it's logic. Is it going to happen? The problem I have is with Falcao, who I really want to stay. Are we going to get rid of Van Persie totally? Because ultimately, that's what we need to happen if Falcao's to stay. Because I believe moving forward, we need to switch to one up top. For the balance of the team, like a 4-2-3-1 is what you want to be looking at. You want like a Carrick or Blint alongside a strong physical centre midfield, world class centre midfield, whether that's like Strootman or Pogba who can play in that role or can also play in a more advanced role. And then you can have three attacking players, which we could have like a Rooney, Mata, Herrera, or you could have Januzaj in there. Obviously Di Maria would need to be you probably have something like either Rooney or Mata and Di Maria and Herrera, the attacking players, with like Falcao up top. So we've got loads of players to kind of accommodate that, but ultimately you're providing a balance. You've got two players to shield the defence, but your four at the back, and you've got your striker up top. But this whole kind of we have to play 3-5-2 because the 4-4-2 diamonds too unbalanced and too risky. Well, there are other options. So for me, it's going to be tricky to see. I believe it's going to have to be a call between Falcao and Robin Van Persie ultimately. We're either going to have to make a call that we're going to give Van Persie another deal in the summer and stick with him, or we're going to have to decide it's time to cash up because as his contract expires, he's going to be worthless, which is not what we want. So we need to go with him or Falcao. I wouldn't want to get rid of both ultimately. So it's big decisions for Van Gaal, but unfortunately there's a lot of money to be spent. But there's
I mean, as you say, he's got it's a lot of big decisions, but a lot of money as well. It cushions the blow, but I mean, he's got some massive calls this summer to make, as you say. I mean, just touching on that, I mean, this is a question to put out to viewers. Comment on Twitter and YouTube. You can tweet us at the United View. I'm going to ask you, Hayley, for your top 3 transfer targets this summer. If you could go out and sign anyone with a blank check, which United effectively have, who would you get as the 3 most important players?
So I'm allowed to go full Muppet here, whoever I want, whatever they cost.
Yeah.
Are we going to go for one of the players that we've kind of talked about? We're not going to go for Ronaldo or any of that rubbish.
Nah. Everyone needs a Ronaldo, but it's probably not going to happen.
Stick with someone realistic. Yeah, we've got to go for Pogba, number 1. It's going to be difficult, but it's possible.
Yeah.
2, centre back. There's a lot of options there. We'll go with Varane, but he's probably not the most likely. I like his age, but Varane or Hummels. Hummels has got the experience. Varane's younger, and he's going to be something special. So, yeah, either of those two will be fine.
Yeah.
And I'll go for, although I've always said the money is pretty ridiculous, but we'll go with Doyle for number 3. So if we get those 3, I think it'll, although that'll not be the finished article, being greedy, that'll probably go along anyway.
That's great. I mean, those are 3 solid calls, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of debate on Twitter. In the run-up to summer, it's going to be never-ending. Almost in a way, because we haven't signed anyone, it's just going to feed the debate more and more. We're obviously contributing to it here, but I mean, it's going to be interesting as a United fan going forward, because as the summer approaches, I mean, whether we get Champions League or not, it's going to fundamentally alter how we approach the market, isn't it?
Absolutely, but we have to do it. I'm at the stage where I'm not even contemplating thinking about the what if. It has to happen, or things could get quite uncomfortable. So yeah, that has to happen definitely, which should make us a very, very attractive prospect with the club, the money behind us, and the Champions League football, which will hopefully be there. But yeah, it's going to be, I think, over the next, well, I was going to say the next couple of months, but I don't want to lose all faith that something exciting could happen in the last couple of days. It's always that risk.
Yeah, well, that's what the January transfer window is about, isn't it? These crazy last-minute deals. Hopefully, we can get one of them in, but it's frustrating, isn't it? But exciting.
The club are going to tell everybody, because ultimately they're just, after previous experiences, the type of club now that no matter what's going on or who they want, they're just going to say, nope, that's it, we're done. Same with, I don't know if you remember last summer, but after Blint was signed, it was like, yep, that's it, all done. And then, boom, Falcao pops out.
Yeah, like, pop out and get one of the, forwards with the best records in European football.
Sure, why not? But it was almost like, well, it was a bit of a too good deal to turn down. So if we can find one of those, i.e., let's just pay the release clause or something like that, then fine. But if not, then I would say pretty much as soon as January's over, you're talking March, April, May time. Generally, we're going to be rumours are just going to be absolutely rife, full swing. So summer, definitely.
It's going to be an exciting time, and as Hayley says there, Louis, if you're listening, failure is not an option. So
exactly.
Either bring in someone now or get planning for the summer.
Good luck, Louis.
Right, well, that's all we've got time for tonight. This was the final January transfer roundup with at the United View. Thanks to Hayley.
Thank you, everyone.
Where can people find you tweeting, Hayley?
My handle is Hales_101. So catch me on there.
Superb. I'm Tom Doyle. You can catch me at Tom J Doyle, and we will be back in the summer hopefully when we've obviously signed some superb players. We're going to be playing Champions League football next season, and Louis Van Gaal is going to be smiling all the way. So catch you all later. See you soon.